Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Hope you're well. Now, if you are new to this channel, make sure you're subscribed, leave a comment, like, and share to all your friends. If you don't, I will cry. So this week, everything's a bit mental in my life. I'm fighting to get space to the computer in the corner of a room. It's destruction. So there's no camera, there's no way to get a green screen up. So we're going to talk today about a simple kind of element of investing, which is trend following, right? Buy the trend. Don't buy when it's in a downtrend because it might keep dipping, all this kind of good stuff. Now, this is a tactic that works very well. You've obviously got to be mindful of the Bitcoin dominance when you're doing this with altcoins, so don't go too heavy unless you've done solid research and you're happy with the price point. What I mean by price point is you're not buying all-time high levels on Satoshi ranges and it's going to drop like a stone. For example, right, that happens quite a lot. If you're buying at like low dominant and you bought all-time high Satoshis and you don't realize, oh, poo. So I'm happy to do this with the coins that I've mentioned over the last week. I bought Polkadot and I bought RSR. I've been very clear why. In terms of longevity, long term, the price point where it's at, I'm happy with that. I've still got a lot of BTC waiting for utilization in other projects which are not quite at the right levels, and also if that dominance does go up. If we do start to see a 50% dominance, fair enough, that's awesome, but you got to remember we were at 39% and we have seen some nice little drops in these altcoins over that time. So we're going to talk about it, we're going to address it, why I'm buying certain things. Now I'll talk about DOT first. As you can see here, we've had a pinpoint push to the upside. Now, this is an important level, but it's also a level where you can actually dollar cost average in, because realistically, this level here, even though it's not the greatest like situation where, oh, but you could have bought down here, but realistically, that is like a pure downtrend. If you go to the daily time frame, you can kind of see that we're starting to look like we are about to break structure. Why? Because we've actually formed a new high. This is important. So when you start understanding trends, you've got different situations. You've got the EMA, and you got trend structure. Trend structure is usually the best point, right? Reason being, it allows you to see more clearly. In a trend, you have the obvious, right? You have an impulse, goes up, right? It then shoots back down, and then it depends on where it goes next and what it does. You wanted to make a high from the previous structure, which is what we've had here. So we've had a breaker structure at this point here. Okay, make sense? Hope it does. So we're now above structure and we're now above an EMA. Technically, this level is now a level of support. So even though I was buying around 44,000, give or take, over the last few days, around where this level was, because that is now technically a support level, you got to think logistics here. Think of it as a building. You've got to have support, you've got to have a ceiling. The ceiling is obviously resistance and the support is obviously the floor. Now, this is where people get confused. You don't want to buy the dip all the time because you might be buying the dip that keeps on dipping. Like when you look at this, right? Oh, I bought the dip. 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 You look like an absolute nugget, right? You do not buy when it's in a progressive downtrend. None of these levels broke structure until we broke a level of structure here. This one did a little break of structure, but it didn't. Why? Because this isn't big enough. This is a more obvious woof, a big swoop, which is what you want. Whereas this is kind of like, well, this isn't really, you can't really class it. That's just, meh, that's a fake out basically. And you've got an EMA rejection and it just continually melted. But even when you look left here, you got levels of resistance in and around that level. So why would you buy it? Why would you buy resistance? Well, you wouldn't. So you got to wait for it. Whereas on here, you are technically buying a turnover of support, technically. However, the caveat is Bitcoin could ruin this. However, that being said, I still feel that this is a great value proposition. Why? Because even though the dominant chart is around 46-47% right now, it's still low and low enough for you to get some nice progressive elements of reward here. It's down 55% from its high, realistically. Even if you look left here, yes, it's been a lot lower. Don't get me wrong, it has been a lot lower. But also when you think about it, this is kind of an important level, realistically, when you think of the average median price. So why not look at dollar cost average? That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to get here. So you got to look at that as a situation. A lot of people are going, well, why are you buying now? Why not wait for the dominance to go high. Well, we don't know if it's going to go high enough yet. We can't tell the future. Yes, markets rhyme and stuff like that, but if we go to 50% dominance and then turn around and you don't have a position, well, it's your own fault. Yes, wait for the optimum levels, but like anything, and what I always say, partial risk, have a bit of BTC, have a bit of that altcoin that you want to be in, but don't go balls deep. Why? Because if it goes lower, you can buy more. If it doesn't go lower, you can then utilize that BTC that you were going to use and go and find something else. Not everything goes to plan in trading and investing, which is why it's important. Now with Polkadot, for me, it's a bit different. It's passive income as well. So however much dot you can make while waiting, even better. And you got to think as well the downside to this. And as I mentioned before, you've obviously got a downtrend as well, where it will pull up back to the upside a little bit, but it will reject, and then it will form a level of a, well, you know, you can see it, resistance into a level of support again, right? So you don't want to be doing, you don't want to be, as I said before, don't want to be buying these dips because you're in downtrend. Whereas now, hello, it's flipped. So you can probably start looking at it. Yes, it may fake out. Yes, it may go lower. Yes, all kinds of good stuff. But again, risk, proportionality, percentage risk game. Play it right. The next thing, I obviously talked about a little bit of structure there, but you've obviously got the EMA. The EMA gives you a bit of a clarity. Buy when it's above, sell when it's below. That kind of bollocks, right? It works, even though it looks a bit messy. If you go into the 2-day chart, for example, it becomes more clear. You can see it nice and easy. However, further down you go, the more interesting it gets. But even still, when you're looking at the 3-day chart, we have whooped right back up into a level of importance, even though it could go lower, which is fair enough. I don't mind if it goes lower because I'm going to buy more. It doesn't matter. But if it doesn't and it carries on going up and this is reversal sign, well, you may be quite happy with that. Why? Because if you're looking at other sort of confluence points, look at that. 618. So that might be a big confluence point as well as to why we've had a big bounce and a catalyst move. However, that being said, it is a level of support, it's important. But, you know, if you were looking to put average price orders in around that point, you can. Most people know this, but I've been slowly accumulating Polkadot anyways over the course of the last few weeks, so I'm pretty happy with where I am, especially if I'm looking at the last week alone around this point, which is nice. And obviously the last order was up here, which isn't too bad at all. I'm quite happy. Now, next example was RSI, even though I'm only using them as examples because I bought them. This looks a lot more powerful, and it's also retraced a lot more in terms of the all-time high of the Satoshi range. Again, I was buying at 69 sats. This is kind of one level here. I'm doing this on a fib. I don't know fucking why. What am I doing? What an idiot. Start again. There we go. Boom. So I bought a big chunk of 69 sats. I talked about it. That was 74% down. I also bought a bit more at 90 sats. Oh, no, I didn't. 81 sats, sorry, which is 70 and then 91 this morning, give or take, or whatever time it was. 92, 91, I can't remember. So I'm still getting an 80%, 70% and 60% retracement from the all-time high, right? It isn't too bad, realistically, but it had a break of structure, an obvious break of structure here, which is very, very important. Even on the 3-day chart here, boom, we've broken right above it, which would now indicate that potentially this level here is now a level of support. We're now above the EMA. It's looking pretty good. And we've also got all this sort of situation. So that's what it looks like on the daily. Huge uprise. And yes, I was buying. I actually bought around this time, went lower. Should have bought more, I know, but you just can't quite fathom the market sometimes. But as I've said before, a lot of things happen in media kind of situations. So that's why, even though the dominance, as I said before at the start of this video, is a lot lower, it may not go as high as we think. It may only go up to like here. And if it does go, then it melts perfect because I'll be in quite a lot of the altcoins I want to be in. Yes, I might have some BTC. I might just sit on it, it'll be fine. You know, it doesn't really bother me. But at the same time, we're all here to get the right possibilities investing. Now, let's have a look through the charts anyways, because I want to try and see what else is. Now, this is just a few. Now, the reason why I say this is because, like, look at the likes of Aave, for example, right? We're talking about retracements here. And if we're looking at current price to now, that's only down 48%, which is fair enough. That's not too bad. But as I said before, with Polkadot and RSI, there's more gains potentially there. Cardano is an example as well. We've hit a perfect level, which I was expecting. I'm not looking to buy this, obviously. But at the same time, you know, some people might be looking at this thinking as an opportunity. But realistically, current price is only down 29%. So when we think about dominance chart, if it does go up enough, it may not kind of, you know, it might not drop as low as you think. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. avalanche. This is, well, that's crazy. I'll go from that point. Makes it a bit easier. But you can see here, even still, right, with the dominance chart being where it is, that's down 74%, there's still good ranges to buy. And this is my point. You need to look for the trend. Now, the trend on this isn't looking that good versus the other ones, as I said, because we've not had a break of structure. However, if you are looking at other things, you may well find structure breaks. So when you start seeing some of these in an uptrend and you start seeing the dominance chart being quite level or starting to decrease, it might not be a bad place to put a little bit in there, because it may well continue. If that dominance chart does continue to go down, and if it does, you know, we can't control it. At the same time, it's all about timing. The timing has to be right. You do not want to be buying a coin in a mega downtrend that has just done an all-time high and the dominance is flying up and the total two chart's a bit crap, because you'd bleed out. Whereas if you're buying a dip at a key level that is just broken structure going to the upside and the dominance chart's looking good, or there's good fundamentals on a coin or good developments that would allow it to grow further, it's not a bad place to be. That's the whole point of dollar cost averaging, you picking your battles at the correct points. Don't be that person that just goes, right, it's every single Friday I'm going to buy a little bit, because it fucking makes no sense, man. You got to have a bit of logic to your problem here. Looking at the likes of Brave, again, another one, it's broken to the upside a little bit on the EMA, but there's no real structure break. So, you know, it's all about picking your battles. This is why I picked certain coins to do it. BNB looks pretty rubbish in my opinion. Doesn't look like a one that you can probably buy into. Maybe if you are thinking percentage gains and you're looking at all-time high levels to where it is now, yes, it's only down 30%, but it's still not looking great in terms of the structure, whereas the other ones are, as I've probably kind of proved it to you. Swissborg, it's looking okay-ish because we've had a higher low. Sorry, it's not too bad. But yeah, you got to kind of look and pick your battles over time, and I'm just looking at the Ethereum-based ones. This is Ethereum BTC. I'm expecting this to melt, though. Even though it's had a bit of a break of structure, we are actually still in a downtrend here, and it's quite an obvious one, realistically. So we'll see how this one goes. Remember, hard fork tomorrow, it might melt, so just be careful. That might change the dominance to a bit more of a different one, but as I said, pick your battles. KSM doesn't look like an entry. Chainlink, that's a possibility because we've had a break of structure. Cool. You know, I hope you get what I mean. Anyways, the trend is your friend. Follow it, right? Don't be that guy or woman or thing that will buy it because it's up here and it's like, oh my God, it's flying. It's doing 100x. It's gonna go to $100 next week. No, because you're probably gonna get wrecked. So you got to be careful, right? By the way, Chainlink, it's been a lot higher, but realistically, when you think about it, this isn't a bad place to be, as I've said, right? If we're looking at all-time highs, by the way, on these dominances and stuff like that, to where it is right now, 64% down. Cool, but you got to look at their structure first. Anyways, very, very quick, simple, easy video. Remember, structure is key. Why to buy certain coins at certain right times? You need the trend. You need a trend to help you a little bit. If that is an EMA, if that is a structure break going upwards to the upside target, if that even means that you're buying stuff on fundamentals, you know, realistically, if you're thinking long term, it's fine. But as I say, always be mindful of this dominance chart. If you're buying something, and this is a caveat to this video, if you're buying something that isn't in an uptrend and is in a downtrend and this is going up, you're going to get wrecked, right? However, if you're buying something in an uptrend, you've got more chance of winning. However, if that is the top of the dominance chart and we do melt from here, have something in altcoins just in case. Don't go all in one, all in the other, because it doesn't make freaking sense, man. Remember your risk. Always good to hold something. Always good to have some ammo. Always good to utilize that ammo at the right points, on the right coins, at the right time, in the right trend. Make sense? Comprende.